Okay, I'm going to read another chapter. This is a little short one. I probably should have read it with the last one because the last one was only 18 minutes, but this is a little short one. But here we go. It's called Skin Flicks. Oh, yeah, I know what this movie's about. This chapter's about. Exactly that. All right. Elvis received a phone call from Dewey Phillips later that evening. So, remember, Dewey Phillips is the guy that took Elvis's black limo that got damaged by the people at that, when they went to see the video of his July 4th concert at Russell Park. No. They went to see, there was a video footage taken of the concert he did in Tupelo. It was a welcome home concert. They gave him keys to the city, which was in the shape of a guitar, which is kind of cool. But Dewey Phillips, so when they went to see that and all the fans messed the car up, they broke the windows and they cut the interior, the fabric in the front two seats and dented the bumpers. So they took that to Dewey Phillips, and Dewey Phillips was going to get all that fixed. And so Dewey Phillips took him home that night, and so Lovey wouldn't find out. But Dewey Phillips is also, the reason he's a friend of Elvis's, he's older, but he was the DJ that played That's All Right Mama for the very first time on his Red, White, and Blue show, because he would play the music that the teenagers liked, the black music, the blues music that they liked. And that's why Sam Phillips, who ran Sun Studios, they are not related at all, but they do have the same last name. Sam Phillips took the record down to Dewey Phillips, and Dewey Phillips played the record. And so that's how Elvis knows him. So he receives a phone call from Dewey Phillips. Maybe the car is ready. I don't know. They got it fixed quickly, if so, because it was only earlier that week that they went to do that. Elvis received a phone call from Dewey Phillips later that evening. So I guess the day he went to go get the organ. And then Nick Adams flew in, and and then they went to the Children's Hospital, and he took Nick that afternoon, and then Pat and June played with the little race cars, and June, when she put her race car down, it went, instead of going up the driveway towards the grass, it went backwards to the gate, and she busted it up, and it was Elvis's favorite. So this is still the same day. So that night, the four of them, Nick, Pat, Elvis, and I, piled in the car and headed for Dewey's house. Elvis was so anxious to get there, I figured the black limo must have been repaired and was ready to be picked up. That's what I was just saying. As soon as we walked in the house, I could see a projector and screen set up in the den. Elvis introduced everyone and instructed me and Pat to stay in the living room with Miss Phillips and the children while he and Nick joined Dewey and several other men in the den. Pat and I sat watching the children playing on the floor while making small talk with Miss Phillips. We waited for what seemed like forever. I love it. For what seemed like forever, and finally one of the men came out of the room. I was facing the den and could see nude bodies on the screen when the door was opened. So I guess there was a door that went from the living room to the den. Oopsie, nude bodies on the TV or on the screen. I felt the blood rush to my face, not from embarrassment, but from anger. I sat quietly, hoping it would be over soon, not really knowing what to do. My neck was aching from gritting my teeth, and I had fingernail marks on the palms of my both hands from clenching my fist like that. She really was mad. Whoa. Finally, I'd had enough. I went to the door, knocked a few times, then opened it wide. All heads immediately turned in my direction. All these men went, bloop, looked over at her. Assuming my Elvis position, her legs apart, her feet apart, and her hands on her chest, folded across her chest, I stared blankly at the screen. Elvis jumped out of his folding chair, stumbling over other chairs, and stood in front of me. "What the heck are you doing, June? I don't want you watching this, Bull," he said, taking me by the arm and closing the door behind us. Maybe I'll say crap. "I don't want you watching this crap," he said, taking me by the arm and closing the door behind us. "You can watch that crap as long as you want, Elvis, but first you take me and Pat home," I demanded. "Okay, baby, I was ready to leave anyway. Let me go get Nick." "Don't be long." He knew I was mad as heck and started apologizing as soon as we got in the car. "I'm sorry, baby. Dewey said he had something he wanted me to see. I didn't know it was skin flicks," he said softly, not wanting Nick in the back seat to hear. See, this is him trying to be big, being nice to June, being his real self, but not wanting the guy to hear, trying to put up that front. So he was saying, "I'm sorry, baby. Dewey said he had something he wanted me to see. I didn't know it was skin flicks." "You can go back if you want to. I just don't want to be in the same house," I answered, not caring who could hear. So she's like, so she talks loud. He's whispering, and she's like, "You can go back if you want to. I just don't want to be in the same house." "You tell him, June. Shame on you, Elvis, embarrassing all of us like that," Nick said, laughing like it was all a big joke. Pat, not having seen the screen, joined in laughing with Nick. "If y'all are trying to make me out to be a stick in the mud, then y'all can kiss my ass," I said, now laughing too. "If y'all are trying to make me out to be a stick in the mud, then y'all can kiss my bleep," I said, now laughing too. Elvis cooed and gooed, pulling me next to him, changing the subject, and the incident was never mentioned again. When we got back to the house, Elvis and Nick visited and signed autographs for the ever-present fans lined up along the fence. Pat and I also visited with some of the girls. They were at the gate every afternoon after school, and by this time, their faces had become familiar to us. Elvis knew all the regulars and called them by name. Yeah, what's so funny is, and sometimes he would invite them in, throughout the year that they lived there. He would invite some of the regulars in. But when he was in Germany, he only wrote like 5 letters home. And one of them he wrote to all of the some of the regular fans. I've seen it somewhere. Maybe I'll find it. If I can find that and send it to y'all, attach it after this reading. He's just telling them how much he misses being there and how he can't wait to come home. So Elvis knew all the regulars and called them by name. The three of us went inside and watched a horror movie on television. But Nick stayed at the fence talking to the girls, probably trying to gather a few fans of his own. Elvis left the side door open for Nick and instructed Bitsy to remind Nick to lock up. So the side door was the door that went to the kitchen, because there's a front door that faces the road. But he instructed Nick to come in the side door and told Bitsy to tell, I guess he could call Bitsy, he had a phone or a radio or something, and told Bitsy to tell Nick to lock up when he came in. Leaving the guest room light on for him, Elvis slept in the bed with me and Pat. I wonder what guest room. I don't know where the guest room is. I don't think it's a 5-bedroom house, but Minnie Mae lives there. I don't know where the guest room is. Maybe they didn't have the pool room yet. Well, she said they played pool that day when they stayed at the house for a couple days after that incident at the place. I don't know. Maybe he had been staying in the guest room that he's talking about when and June and Pat were staying in his room when they actually slept at night. He may have been staying in the guest room. And then he stayed in the big king bed with them, and Nick stayed in the guest room. So I don't know where that is. Unless Minnie Mae wouldn't sleep in the same room with Vernon and Gladys. Although, you know, we never hear anything about Minnie Mae. I know she moved with them, but maybe she went to stay with some of her. Maybe she went to Tupelo during this week that they were visiting. Maybe she went back to Tupelo to visit some of her other children to give them the house so there would be room for everybody to stay. Yeah, that is an idea. So she may have gone home because I never hear them talk at all about Minnie Mae during this visit. So she might be in Tupelo right now visiting family because I know she's got more children, a lot more children. Okay, so let's see, where are we? Elvis left the side door open for Nick and instructed Bitsy to remind Nick to lock up, leaving the guest room light on for him. Elvis slept in the bed with me and Pat, because that was that big, giant king bed. We were in the middle of breakfast the next morning when Nick came in, still half asleep, but hungry enough to get out of bed. Elvis teased him about flirting with the girls all night long and not getting enough sleep. When Lovey got up from the table to fix Nick some scrambled eggs, Elvis really got upset. Sit down, Mama, and finish your breakfast. If Nick wants eggs, he can fix his own. If you went to bed at night and left the girls alone, you'd be here in time to eat, he said, this time addressing Nick. Do you ever think of anything but girls? I've got other things on my mind too, Elvis. Will you please pass the puskets? Oh, my God, how terrible. Nick said calmly. Lovey was the first to laugh. You had to admire the way Nick's charm and wit had gotten him out of an uncomfortable situation. Yeah. Elvis was like, if you want to eat what my mom has cooked, you need to be here on time and stop hanging out there talking to the girls. Come on in. And then he says, I got other things on my mind too, Elvis. Will you please pass the biscuits? Alberta was running the vacuum cleaner through the house, so we all went into Elvis's bedroom to get out of her way. Lovey came in to find Nick and asked him to unpack his things and put them away. Nick had 2 large suitcases and an overnight bag wide open and laying in the middle of the floor. It looked like he was planning to stay a while. Alberta wants to clean the guest room, Nick. Would you mind unpacking all your things and putting them away? I'd do it for you, but I don't like meddling in other people's things. There's plenty of room in the closet and lots of drawer space, she said sweetly, thanking him and leaving the room. That boy sure is messy, she said to me the next time we were alone. Nick didn't seem to mind the mess at all. Reluctantly, he got up from his sprawled position in the middle of Elvis's bed and went in to unpack. He returned about 10 minutes later holding a dress. I almost forgot. Natalie sent you a souvenir, Elvis, Nick said, prancing around the room, holding the dress up to his shoulders. I recognized the dress from a recent photograph of Natalie Wood in a movie magazine. It was a tight-fitting white, black, and red floral print with a split up one side, slightly oriental. Just my style, but definitely not my size. Nick announced the dress had been made by Natalie's personal dressmaker, the same one who made the blue velvet shirt Elvis wore at the Mississippi-Alabama State Fair. Being a seamstress myself, I turned the dress inside out, inspecting the workmanship. It was definitely well made. But then again, it should be. This lady was a professional. The dress didn't have a label. I guessed it to be maybe a size 1, no larger than a 3. On the silver screen, Natalie appeared to be my size, but in reality, she must have been even more petite than Pat. You should see her in this dress, June. Boy, oh boy, does she fill it out, Nick said, taking the dress from me. I know, Nick. I saw a picture of her in that same dress, and it fitted her like a glove. She looked great, I answered, pushing Elvis's clothes to either side. Pushing Elvis's clothes to either side, Nick found a hanger and placed the dress in the center of Elvis's closet. Nick was trying to make me jealous, and I couldn't understand why. I refused to let him get to me and went along with everything he said. I could play his little game better than he could. I was secure enough in my relationship with Elvis and didn't consider Natalie to be a threat. She was cute enough, but definitely not his type. Elvis winked at me for being a good sport. Later, when Elvis and I were alone, I asked him what Nick was trying to prove. I don't think Nick likes me, I said. I wish you would have invited him to come visit some other time when I wasn't here. I didn't invite him, June. He more or less invited himself. He's okay, baby. He's just a lonesome little guy struggling to make it in Hollywood. Keep being nice to him, June. He needs friends, Elvis said, showing his tender side. He always felt sorry for the underdog. That must be why he was being friendly to him. Plus, he thought it was cool that he knew James Dean, I'm sure. But so apparently, he wasn't expecting Nick to show up. He just showed up. Good thing he had told her about him. Nick was hard to figure out. Around Elvis, he was lighthearted and funny. But when Elvis wasn't around, he was very serious, constantly asking me personal questions to the point of being downright nosy. He knew things about me he could only have heard from Elvis, and Elvis wasn't much of a talker when it came to his personal life. So I figured he must have been pumping Elvis for information as well. See there? So he could report back to the colonel. So he was asking Elvis personal questions, and Elvis was answering them, but Elvis didn't typically volunteer information about his personal life to people. So he must have been, he was pumping, he was asking her questions and asking Elvis questions. Just how serious is it between you and Elvis, June? Do you two plan to get married anytime soon, or what? He asked. Nick, I know you're supposed to be writing a book about James Dean. Are you thinking of writing one about me too? I answered politely, evading his questions. If you want to know anything about Elvis and me, I suggest you ask Elvis. If I didn't know better, I'd swear you were a reporter, I said, laughing him off. Nick would laugh too, but then he kept on talking. I'm just a curious guy, June. I like people and I like to know everything there is to know about them. I'd just like to get to know you better, that's all, he said softly, trying to make his remarks seem complimentary. Nick even asked Pat if Elvis and I were sleeping together. She told him it was none of her business and none of his business either, stopping him dead in his tracks. You go, Pat. Way to go. Pat knows. It's not my business to talk about that. When I complained to Elvis about Nick's constant badgering, he told me not to pay him any attention. He don't mean anything by it, June. That's just the way he is. He's always asking me questions, too. Sometimes I answer, and sometimes I tell him to shut his mouth before he drives me crazy to shut it up for him. Sometimes I tell him to shut his mouth before he drives me crazy enough to shut it up for him. Elvis going to punch him in the mouth. So right there he is. He says he asks me questions all the time, too. So he is asking. He's pumping him for information. Nick was like Elvis's shadow. If we wanted to spend some time alone, Elvis had to tell Nick to go find something to do, usually suggesting he do a little PR at the front gate. Nick loved being the big shot, signing autographs, even though they were all Elvis fans. Having heard all about Lovey's delicious fried chicken, Nick requested fried chicken for dinner one day. That night, in the dining room, Elvis pulled out a chair for his mother, flapped his arms, and whispered, "Cluck, cluck," in her ear. Whispered, "Cluck, cluck," in her ear. He pulled out the chair for his mama to sit down, and then went, "Cluck, cluck," and flapped his arms. Everyone was in a good mood, and halfway through the meal, Nick started telling a joke. When he accidentally used the F word in front of Mr. and Ms. Presley, Elvis leaned across the table and slapped him across the top of his head. "Nick, you'd better shove some of those mashed potatoes in your mouth before I do," Elvis warned. Even with the California suntan, we could see Nick's face turning red. He lowered his head, eating all the mashed potatoes without coming up for air. He then apologized to everyone for the slip of the tongue. "May I have some more potatoes, Miss Presley?" "Why, Nick, are you getting ready to say it again?" Lovey responded, putting Nick at ease and making everyone laugh. Aw, Lovey. She wants everyone to feel comfortable and at home. All right, so that's chapter 2. So what do y'all think about this Nick Adams? So when he's talking about Nick saying that Natalie's personal dressmaker made the dress, she also made the blue velvet shirt that Elvis wore at the Mississippi-Alabama State Fair back in September. He wears this blue velvet shirt that Natalie Woods, somehow or another, he must have met her. Probably met her when he met Nick Adams when he was filming Love Me Tender. And gave him this shirt, had the shirt made and gave to him. I think she also gives him a red one. But because the pictures are black and white for this these two concerts, you can't tell what color it is that he's wearing. But it is interesting to know. Actually, some people have tried to colorize the pictures. And so I've seen some pictures where with the blue one, it's like a deep blue velvet. And but whether that's right or not, you can't really tell. But it's but it looks dark in the black and white picture, so they made it a dark blue. And then there's also that night, because he sweats so much in it, because it's in July 4th, in Tupelo, Mississippi. It's hot. It's as hot and humid as it is here in North Carolina. He sweated, so he wore the red one for the evening show. So he wears two shirts that Natalie Wood gave him for those concerts. So somehow he meets her, but we don't know how, because no one has ever shared that story that I've read. Maybe one day I'll run across it, but anyway, so he met her. And so I might put that picture, try to put a picture in of that, and maybe find a picture of Nick. And what was the other thing I was going to send a picture of? Alberta. Oh, the house. Maybe find some pictures of the house. Oh, yeah, with the organ. All right. So that is that chapter. So I'm going to stop there. That was Skin Flicks. And next we'll do Hollywood Smiles. All right, y'all. Enjoy your day. Okay, see ya. Bye.